because the same developers put forward an application for the same area a little over a year ago. And then they withdrew. So why are they back? Because the sound of profits by building on green belt is still ringing in their ears. But this petition of over 2,500 shows the strength of opposition to profit at the expense of our area. Besides this petition, near 600 have either written or emailed the Planning Committee stating their objections. Amongst these is a planners report commissioned by the Safe Corringham Green Belt Group. It dismisses point by point the reasons given by the developers for approval of application. Can we urge the councillors, especially those on the Planning Committee, to read this report? Unfortunately, some of them phone could. So, look, a lot of people are especially concerned because recent decisions by the Planning Committee suggest the council doesn't care for maintaining the green belt. Again, we ask this application to be rejected. The National Planning Policy Framework regards building on the green belt as inappropriate. Building on this scale in this area is not part of Thurrock's core strategy. The developers' online consultation is somewhat deceptive and self-serving. For example, it shows Corringham Town Centre as empty of cars. Well, pity I can't put this very well to see. Town Centre is chock-a-block with cars. Cars wanting to get into the town centre from both directions, chock-a-block. Councillors, local councillors who hold their surgeries in Corringham Town know this to be a fact. Approval of this housing estate raises the population of Corringham and Bobby from standard by 20%. It won't improve the situation. The infrastructure of doctor surgeries and hospital facilities are still under pressure now as before. The developer's traffic assessment, the traffic rate assessment, is flawed. Not only does it leave out some roads which will be affected by the proposed development, but as the council's own officers have pointed out, the figures are taken from the 2008 survey. It's 7 years out of date. The additional traffic from a new estate of conservatively 1,400 cars will dramatically increase the congestion on our country roads. The opening of the port, of course, has already worsened the situation.
You have 2 minutes left.
Thank you. Another deception is the promise of the railway station, except there isn't going to be one. The developers are not building one, nor is Network Rail, nor C2C. There is one being built at Raynham. So what does this space for a station amount to? It's lipstick on a pig. Yeah, I know there are lots of jokes about that sort of thing, but this is no joke, this plan. Councillors, don't be fooled. We aren't. A few years later, they will be building on that space as well. In meetings with councillors and candidates around election time, we found support for our campaign across the political spectrum, red, blue and purple. It is to you, our councillors, as stewards of our environment, that we look for help. So now, here, in this forum, is the time to stand up and give voice to your support to reject the application, which would lead to sprawl, pollution and a concrete future for later generations. Can I, on behalf of Safe Corringham Green Belt, thank the signatories, the people who went to town centres and for petitioning, collecting petitions and knocking on doors, and also to our ward councillors who have given support and advice, and to other councillors also out of the area who have given good advice to us. Thank you very much for that.
So, well done.
Thank you.
I haven't seen anything that makes me want to support it, so when it does come, I will be objecting to it. I'm going to raise 2 main points because I know other members will want to speak. And firstly, the train station, to me, my simple view is it's a marketing ploy, because what could be better reality will it happen? When I first had the new plans, I contacted Network and their response was, I understand that Corringham Station is not a committed scheme at present, and as yet Network Rail has not carried out any feasibility work to understand the likely cost. We believe that a new station at Corringham is an aspiration of the local developer. When you also consider that the government last year said that they would be giving over £7 million to upgrade Stamford Hope Station, because we now have the port coming and its arrival, with the turnaround and making it much more easy for traffic and working people to get to the port, who is going to provide the money for a new station? Is it Network Rail? The local council won't be. I can't see the government being given more money to a new station. And if we look just recently over history, there's 2 new stations being put on the C2C line in the last 26 years, West Ham and Lakeside. And a new station at Corringham is not going to see that sort of footfall. The second point I want to make is...
These are all the planning committee who have absented themselves tonight who will make the decision on this issue. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Kabul and all of the other volunteers who collected such an enormous petition. It's no easy task to go banging on doors to get people to sign a bit of paper, so all of us in here have done that know, and it is a staggering effort. The application and the presentation of the petition tonight raised 2 issues that would have weighed very heavily on my mind in my planning committee days. The first is that this is an application that takes place in designated metropolitan greenbelt, and as such, only very special circumstances can lead to its being developed. The second, and this is an issue that has been brought to my attention, it didn't really particularly need to be brought to my attention by a number of residents, which is the impact this will have on congestion on Southend Road, which is a significant issue, and planning and committee members must be satisfied in their minds that this impact will not worsen this condition. That's what I'm going to say on this, because obviously I'm choosing my words carefully. I will also say that this has been a staggering effort in collecting the petition. This has aroused an enormous amount of local interest. We're going out and renewing the local plan in the coming years, and I would urge and plead with everybody who gets involved in petitions like this against developments to get involved in the consultation process for the local plan, because that ultimately is the document that determines the future of these kind of developments. So keep up this engagement in the planning system.
This whole case highlights the inequality in the system. You've got hard-working campaigners knocking on the doors for the second time round, getting all these signatures, getting these petitions in, and then it goes to the committee, and you've got the developers having to just appeal to the committee. The system's wrong. My appeal to the leader of the council, and I'll continue doing this till we finally get a democratic breakthrough in this borough, is that Corringham goes to vote next year. Put this on the ballot paper. Let the people decide what they want in their community. And only when you've got a fair system like that, when the developers have to knock on the door, like the petitioners do, but the developers have to explain why this development is good for them, and it's got to bring them the infrastructure, it's got to bring them the doctors, it's got to bring them the amenities that they need. When you've got a fair system like that, people will actually feel comfortable about the political process. But while we've got this unequal system, we will see more and more plans like this coming forward with more and more residents having to spend more of their time knocking on doors and getting these signatures. We've got to just put our foot down. If localism is in vogue, let's let these developments, which get the people animated and get them involved in the political process, let's give them the final say. So you can put that cost on the ballot box, yes or no.
Thank you, Councillor Ann. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, this agent company, ICE Projects, and many others like them, know that the local councils are under extreme pressure from central government to build houses. So their format now is to purchase cheap green belt farmland and then to keep pestering local councils with various planning applications until they get their way. And the reason that these companies buy cheap farm green belt land is to make maximum profits for themselves and the development company, who virtually have a blank sheet in which to build. No demolition costs. A good example is the development in East Tilbury. You have a perfect brownfield site in which to build. The old Barter Shoe Factory, which has been run down and derelict for decades. This site is falling to bits and is an eyesore for the local community. but the development company purchased and obtained permission to build on the farmland next door, which only a few years ago was growing wheat. In North East Corringham, the agent company Iceni Projects and developers Cogent have virtually ignored the views of all the local residents and councillors alike. Local residents have raised various petitions outlining good reason as to why this development should not go ahead. Now, Madam Mayor, I would like to tell the Chamber a story, if I may. Thank you.
Could you make it very quick?
It's going to be.
Once upon a time, many years ago in East Borough, there were 3 large villages called Stamford-le-Oak, Corringham and Fobbin. They each had their own borders, they each had their own identities. They each had their own church, they each had their own church halls. Over the years, Stamford and Corringham expanded until they joined each other. And as time has gone on, the same has happened with Corringham, to its virtually touching Fobbin as it is now. If the developers get their way, they will buy all the cheap land from here to Basildon, and soon we'll be merging with them, Madam Mayor. Something I think that is very concerning. Now, we don't have the infrastructure, local doctor surgeries can't cope, and Basildon Hospital is at breaking point. When are these developers companies going to listen and respect the views, wishes and concerns of the local communities and councillors? This project is both not wanted or needed in this area. Thank you.
Mr. Sandhu, well done to your team. Well done, not least of all, for actually speaking for 5 minutes dead on. I think that's a skill that you can sell to people in this chamber and make quick quid for the campaign. As has already been pointed out, this site is not within our core strategy, and I think that's something that the planning committee will weigh heavily when they come to make their decision. But I have to say that we have to be realistic about this. This is not a decision that will be determined locally. You know, we know that. Councillor Jones talks about the development in East Tilbury. That was a development that was turned down locally, but on appeal, the Secretary of State overrode local determination and granted it on appeal. We know that for this development, if it's refused, the developer will appeal. If it's allowed, it will be called in by the Secretary of State because it's not in the core strategy. I hope that in the spirit of localism, that when the Secretary of State needs to determine this, as he will, that he listens to both what local people have said through the petition and what the local planning committee says when it's taken its decision.